Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to be looking at Nightmares number 1 and 2, a 2-issue micro-series from Eclipse Comics published in 1985. The main reason for this little micro-series is just to showcase the beautiful artwork of Paul Gulacy. As we saw in our Young Master videos, we had a two-parter about, 2 weeks ago. Around this time in the mid-'80s, Warren Comics went out of business. Some big companies bought some of their properties, but a lot of their stories were now able to be licensed for reprint. And there's just a lot of amazing choice stuff from the Warren catalog was being reprinted, this being one of them. And so Eclipse published a bunch of them, and Pacific Comics did. They published Jim Starlin's Darklon the Mystic from Warren Comics. As we saw already, the Young Master reprints those beautiful Val Mayer comics, and written by Larry Hama. And there was just a bunch of these. So the really nice thing was Eclipse, whenever they did these Warren reprints, they did quite a few. There was, they colored them. And usually, it's like a colorized movie. It's like, I don't want to see Casablanca with the Ted Turner colorization like in the 80s. But I gotta say, these look really good. They're a little muddy, but there's something amazing about it, taking this beautiful wash-toned Paul Gulacy art, which didn't need color. I mean, it's just gorgeous art with all this tones and shading. But the way Steve Oliff, the colorist of these, and many Eclipse reprints, does it, it's kind of cool looking. It like I said, it's a little muddied. It's hard to color over that stuff, almost impossible. In fact, it was never done before this. But Steve Oliff had a pretty good process of painting over this, lush, gray-toned art that didn't really need color, like I said. But it looks pretty nice. I would love to have the originals to compare. It's not like I need them to know that some of this stuff is muddied. But what Steve Oliff does with this black and white art is kind of remarkable. And there's some really interesting coloring effects in here. So for these issues, they got new covers by Paul Gulacy, from 1985. But the interior is primo, late 70s, early 80s Paul Gulacy. And it's gorgeous. It's fucking just lusciously exquisite. It's succulent almost. So pretty good cover, but I gotta say, mid-'80s Gulacy, still really fucking good. It's just not the same. In those 5 years, I think he wasn't as hungry. Like I said before, Warren brought out the best in every artist who worked for them. So this first story we have, it's written by Doug Moench. It's written by Don McGregor, who did a lot of work for Warren. So right off the bat, it's just like, wow, Paul Gulacy art, and one of my favorite writers, even though I have problems with Don McGregor, but I really do like his stuff, and I own a lot of it. This is dedicated to Dave Kraft, by the way, who supplied research material. So this story takes place in 1998. The narrator and / protagonist is this guy, Dr. Ward Kavanaugh. And we see there's little differences. Apparently, there's been almost like a class war. Because, this is 20 years after the fact. This is the future, back when this was written. And so there's just like a handful of really rich people. Everyone else is in squalor. It basically sounds like the rich people were just like, we're tired of everyone else being kind of rich, and somehow pulled off this thing where, okay, now it's like medieval times. 99% of the people are serfs, basically. And there's a handful of mega rich people. So in this world, Dr. Ward Kavanaugh works for this huge medical corporation. And he's even talking about how there's only 3 cars they own, the whole corporation. And I guess he's an important enough doctor that he's given one or loaned one. And as you can see, guys, this art is just so nice. Look at this coloring effect by Olaf. And to be honest, I don't know if that was actually drawn in there or Steve Olaf added it. When Steve Olaf colored these painted comics back in the 80s, he was one of the first guys who like really revolutionized coloring. This could be him just drawing these pine trees. I don't know. I don't have the original to compare. So this is called The Trespasser. And it's part 1 of, I believe, 3, maybe 4. Just from his narration, we realize this guy, he's not a hero. He's part of the corporate machine. And we'll see that even more so as he's driving through the swamp. He's heading towards the mansion of this woman, Rebecca Cope, who called him in. She's super rich. We'll meet her in a second. So he's driving through the swamp, and all of a sudden this guy comes running out of the swamp, gasping as if he was having a heart attack. And he's got blood all over him, as if he's been injured. And he says, "Please stop your car." And from the narration by the doctor, we realize he's definitely not a hero. He's just like, "Oh, I don't want this guy bleeding on the seats of this car. It's so hard to get one of these loaners from the company, from the corporation." He doesn't give a shit about this guy. And this guy is basically ranting. He's saying, "Please, the Cope family, they're going to kill me. They'll kill me to stop me from saving them." And then he hears these Dobermans, and we see the Dobermans. They just savage this guy. This guy's name is Kelsey, by the way. When he comes out to help him, because he's not a total villain. He's just not a very heroic guy. All of a sudden, these 2 security guards come out. Now, these are twin brothers named Rurik and Rush Everdeen. And they are just all business. They just throw the doctor against this car, put a shotgun in his back. The doctor says, "Hey, settle down. Rebecca Cope called me." So they do put Kelsey in the car. And of course, the whole time, Dr. Kavanaugh is just like, "Oh man, he's probably bleeding all over the leather naugahyde of the rich Corinthian leather of the car. I'm gonna be in trouble." He doesn't seem to have any sympathy. The 2 twin brothers write shotgun on the car, and they make it to the mansion of Rebecca Cope and her husband, Harris Cope. God, look at this, just Paul Gulacy art. I mean, his stuff for Marvel was pretty amazing, but this is like a whole new level. He is just definitely putting way more work in, and it's all good work. So she introduces herself to Dr. Ward Kavanaugh. Something's off about her. Seems a little like maybe she's sick or something. She invites him to dinner. And she's a very kind of complex woman, kind of an enigma. So he's basically, the doctor is saying, "Well, why did you call me?" Is like, "Is your husband ill?" And she's kind of evasive about the question, but she says, "I want to show you something. I want to show you our child." And it's this baby. And when the doctor sees the baby, he's kind of shocked. Like the baby's like just really messed up, like congenital defects. Probably won't even grow up. I mean, he's probably going to die. But the mother just, treats it like a baby. He's in his little bed. But she does start crying. So she doesn't recognize that this is not good. She kind of grasps the doctor, just crying. She says, "You've got to help us. We're all dying here." And then Harris Cope shows up, the husband. He slaps the doctor in the face. He says, "How dare you show him our shame?" And he kind of badmouths Kelsey. We don't even understand why this Kelsey, it seems like he's a threat to this family. He's like, he claims that the Kelsey's a madman who could be recruiting anyone to further destroy our family. And the doctor says, listen, it seems like the twin brothers here, the security guys, they want to just like take him out to the swamp and shoot him. He's like, listen here, your wife called me here. You're fucked up. I can tell by your skin. Those sores on your face, you've got skin cancer badly. And if you don't let me treat it, you're going to start losing teeth. That'll be the nicest thing that will happen to you. After that, it's going to be hellish. And Harris Cope just says, I don't want to hear it. He says, lock him away with the other madman, with Kelsey. And it's to be concluded in number 2 of Nightmares. Next, we have this next story, Blood on Black Satin. Now, this is written by Doug Moench. And as I said earlier, I hope I was clear, the whole thing is colored by Steve Oliff. This is the sharp-looking splash page. I love this, like, kind of nice font. It's like that 70s horror novel font. So this one starts off, we see this reporter. His name is Malcolm Avery. He's traveling to this very small town in England called Middlesex because an old friend of his, Heather McKinnon, called and said, I kind of need help. So he's driving along this road late at night, and all of a sudden these horses just storm across the road. He swerves to avoid them, crashes into a tree. When he comes out, he sees the guys on horses. It is Halloween, by the way. I should have mentioned that. They're all wearing these crazy Halloween outfits, like a pumpkin head guy, a skull face dude. And they ask him, you be a stranger? He says, yeah, we be stranger yet. And then they run off, right off. So he makes it to Middlesex, and it seems like they're already having like this kind of festival. There's a bonfire in the middle of the road. This is what I'm talking about, is Steve Oliff's effects. This is amazing fire coloring. This is really good stuff. And this is basically, he's painting over Paul Gulacy's, photo stats, I imagine, not the originals. So he notices that this festival, like all the participants of the village, it's just like total lack of inhibition. These people are kind of going wild. They're going nuts. There's a tavern. He sees someone thrown out the window. And he says, yeah, these people are crazy. I guess they have this one night of the year they get to cut loose, this little dinky town. And these 2 beautiful women come up to him dressed in like old-timey garb. And they're like, come into the tavern. They say, join our saucy company. It is funny that almost everyone in this town, every woman's fucking like a supermodel. She's fucking gorgeous. Every single woman he draws. The guys are all pretty handsome too. So this tavern is like a complete bacchanal going on, as you can see here. Just debauchery and just complete abandon. So he's not up for it. He's just not feeling it. One of these beautiful women comes up to him and she says, you've hardly tasted your ale. Why don't you taste me? No woman's ever said shit like that to me in my life. So he kind of gets a little naughty with her, gets a little saucy, I guess is the word. And then he kind of comes to his senses and like, this is crazy. What the hell's going on in this place? It's like he's succumbing to the bacchanalian fervor going on in this tavern. And And then he sees these two, like this elderly or like a, senior citizen American couple. They seem pretty sane. They're just chilling on a table, drinking their beers. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're just tourists. We came for the cultural attractions. But, yeah, it's the 200th anniversary of the greatest night of decadence in England's history. And we're thrilled to be here. This is really fun and exciting. They tell him, like, why don't you sit back and enjoy it like we are? But he's not buying it. He's like, nah, thanks. But it's tempting. But I got to see a friend. How do I find the McKinnon place? That's who he's looking for. And some people warn him against going there. I mean, it's almost like a mild threat. Like, maybe you should just stay here with us. But he does find out, the old lady, the American lady says, oh, we passed a sign that said McKinnon Place earlier. So he's got the information he needs. And he heads out. As he's leaving, it seems like this decadent party is like shifting into overdrive. There's mock battles, but now it seems like, are they really killing each other, these guys? And we can kind of see it. Looks like they are. But he's out of there. He's just like, I don't know. Maybe I didn't see that right. But I'm just getting the fuck out of here. This place is crazy. So he makes it to Heather McKinnon's castle. Man, look at the way Paul Gulacy draws this woman. And she says, my Uncle Jock has now told me the full story, which I hinted at my letter. Brace yourself for what he has to say. So now we meet Josh McKinnon. He's in a wheelchair. And he warns him that there will be evil this night. Madness and murder and debauchery. Sheer naked evil running rampant through the streets. So now he tells them a story. So about 200 years ago, there was this Satanist named Simon Whately. And, I'm sorry, like in the 14th century, way before that. He founded the town, but he was told he consorted with demons and summoned demons. Like this delicate gray tone work, you can tell under this art. He colors it pretty deftly, Steve Olaf. That must have been hard as hell, this very light, because this is a flashback, so Paul Gulacy kind of did delicate wash tones. I mean, it's not ideal. I bet this probably is better in black and white, right? Because Paul Gulacy is great in black and white. But still, this is almost like another take on it that's pretty nice to look at. So I guess word of the Middlesex horror spread, the fact that all this demon shit was going on. So Jock McKinnon, his ancestor, Alexander McKinnon, led a brigade in there, a bunch of men. And so this is 1780, sorry. So in 1780, these guys went to the town and they arrested everyone and basically executed almost everyone except for the children. So Simon Whately was condemned to be hanged, and when he dies, he kind of leaves a curse. He says, for 200 years shall I sleep, and when I awaken, all of hell will be in my eyes. So ever since then, the McKinnons have lived in Middlesex. But then recently, Simon Whately has reappeared in town. He organized the festival. And of course, the reporter here, Malcolm Avery, is like, it's probably a descendant of his. Come on. No one can be resurrected 200 years after their death. He doesn't believe it. So apparently the main reason he came to town was there was a brutal death of a local named Melissa Stribling. She was, the paper said it was like a druid murder. It was a druid slaying. They claimed it was the work of a maniac. But of course, Jock McKinnon is like, no, this is all part of Simon Whately's plan. Basically, in return for Melissa's blood, it was a sacrifice. The devil has bound Middlesex in a spell of decadence, culminating tonight in the Festival of the Goat. Everyone, without knowing it, they're all going to die. Their flesh will live on, but possessed by all of the original followers of Simon Whately who were executed 200 years ago. So basically all the villagers will be possessed by these evil Satanists who've been dead for 200 years. He's still not buying it. The reporter's still like, this sounds crazy. So he says, I need your help. You've got to stop them. And he's like, how do I stop them? And he says, you've got to go to the library basement. Here are the keys. There's court records there with information. But Heather, the niece, convinces him. So he goes to the library basement, and in a shrine, kind of a pagan-looking shrine, he finds this old parchment, basically talking about this whole plan. And this gives him another clue. It says, the existence of this evil may be found in the courthouse cellar crypt. And then the parchment catches fire all by itself and burns. Of course, this guy's a cynical bastard. He's like, oh, there's got to be a rational explanation for this. Maybe spontaneous combustion. Maybe it was exposed to oxygen for the first time in 200 years, and that's why it burned. When he gets back to the castle, the back door's open, and he can't find Heather. But he does see Jock McKinnon, and when he taps his shoulder, he falls over and he's dead. Now we have chapter 2 of Blood and Black Satin. And we have a little recap. Look at this great Paul Gulacy splash page. It's like that. He was so good at doing this, these covers, or splash pages that look like a movie poster. Almost like a cool James Bond type poster. That's really nice. So he still doesn't believe the story. He's still skeptical. And then one of this pumpkin-headed villager attacks him with an axe. Even panels like this, which are they're not money shots. It's not always sees an axe. You don't even see a face. Just Paul Gulacy's such a good illustrator. Just so tight. So we get a little fight here. And then right when the Pumpkinhead is about to kill the reporter, all of a sudden we hear gunshots. And it's Heather. Of course, she's bereft that her uncle's dead. He says there's more coming. The reporter says there's more coming. We got to go out the back door. Now the whole town is in the grip of this, decadent fervor. So he's like, we got to get to that crypt in the courthouse. Now, she also brings up this thing about, they're talking about science and magic. She says there's a group of avant-garde scientists who are into bizarre advanced physics, almost mystical physics. They believe in the feasibility of vibrational magic, Different sound vibrations can shatter glass, affect human blood pressure, and so on. Take it one step further. These physicists theorize that other vibrations, intonation of certain words, a spell, if you will, in a precise sequence at a precise pitch, could trigger physical phenomena. In other words, magical phenomena. So they're trying to say that there's almost a science behind, sorcery, the incantations, chanting, all that stuff. So they break into the courthouse. There's a painting of Simon Waitley right in the main room. He says, why is there a painting of this evil villain in the courthouse? She says, no one's ever been able to remove it. That's what my uncle said. Kind of weird. So they make it into the crypt. And they find all these casks. Each one has the remains of Simon Waitley's followers who were hanged 200 years ago. He looks inside. He finds skeletons in each one, and they've got little horns on their head. So finally, he believes the shit. And then they hear, how dare you defile my crypt? And they look over, and it's Simon Waitley, the Druid Slayer. He says, the girl will be my next victim. Malcolm, the reporter, fires 3 shots at Simon Waitley to no effect. Now this is going to be continued in Nightmares number 2. Here we go, another new Gulacy cover from 1985. And we continue with Blood on Black Satin. Story Doug Moench, art Paul Gulacy, colors Steve Olaf. Another little recap. So they run away from the courthouse. Simon Waitley is riling up the villagers. The reporter tries to get to his car. Malcolm tries to get to his car, and it blows up before he can get there. So they're running. They're trying to escape the village. It's like an ancient town, so there's a wall, almost from medieval times. There's a wall around the city. They make it through the first fence, and then they're almost free, home free. All the villagers are chasing them, and then the second gate closes on them. They grab Heather, and he notices that she has the mark of the pentagram on her shoulder. And apparently, that woman who was slain the week before in the Druid slaying, Melissa, she had that as well. So the villagers attack him. He tries to fight back, and they knock him out. There's so many great panels of this. Look at the face there. Just how well drawn that is. Some really good stuff. So now we cut away, and Heather wakes up on this altar. She can't move. And Simon Waitley and his little goat head is leading the proceedings. Looks like there's going to be a sacrifice. So basically, Melissa's death from a week before, that sacrifice was to bring Simon Waitley back. And now this sacrifice will unleash those 200 souls that are in the casks in the courthouse, and they'll enter the bodies of the villagers. And the whole town will basically be kind of demonic. It already is. It's already under the say of Simon Waitley. But after that, this sacrifice, it'll be those people will be totally evil and, beyond redemption. So Malcolm wakes up, and he knows he's going to rescue Heather. The whole town is full of these crazy villagers, and so he's running from them. But mostly he's just trying to get through them. They're still into just their revelry. They're still just like this, these decadent revelers. They haven't been possessed yet by Simon Waitley's true followers. So he's just trying to make his way through it. It's not like people are chasing him for the most part. They're just like getting in his way. The American couple seems like they've totally been swallowed up by this decadence as well. And they're kind of like running after him like, stop. The real fun starts at midnight. And Malcolm realizes the vibrations of the bell, the 12 vibrations at midnight of the town bell. That's the vibrational frequency that when he kills Heather on the altar, and those vibrations will make this magic happen. So he runs up to the bell tower and attacks the bell ringer up there. Meanwhile, we see Simon about to kill Heather, but he's like, wait, where's the 12th bell? Because the 12th bell never rang because Malcolm's stopping the guy from doing it. But then the bell ringer, I guess, shrugs off Simon and grabs the rope, and the 12th bell tolls. And Malcolm screams, they can't win, evil can't win. And the vibrations of this bell bring the whole tower down. And the whole courthouse where the bell tower resided in just collapses, falling on like a lot of the villagers in the town. Simon Waitley says the deed is done. Soon my followers will live again. And then Malcolm passes out once again, knowing that he's failed. Now we cut away to Middlesex. It looks like the next day. The sun's out. It looks beautiful. Simon Waitley's passed out. I'm sorry, not Simon Waitley. Malcolm Avery, the reporter, is passed out. And a police officer says, hey, wake up. You can't be asleep in the middle of the street. And he wakes up and says, what? The town, it's normal. Nothing happened. I never left the inn? Drunk the whole time? Were there drugs in my beer? The police officer says, I don't know if you were drunk, sir, or somebody put drugs in your beer. I only know the festival's over and you can't leave your car parked here. So he's just totally befuddled. And then Heather shows up and she says, Malcolm, I was afraid you wouldn't come. And he's like, what? You haven't seen me? You didn't see me at all last night? She's like, no, of course, silly. Maybe you were too drunk to notice. You didn't see me last night. She says that her uncle just died, Uncle Jock. But she makes it sound like it was just natural causes. So she says, come along. Will you give me a ride back to London? And as they leave, we see Simon Waitley. His plan went off without a hitch. The whole town is possessed by his followers. And as he speaks, we realize that Heather is also one of them. She had that pentagram on her shoulder. And she says, Malcolm, as soon as we get to London, I want to show you my new satin outfit. You see, I feel positively wicked. So she's going to spread this evil throughout England and the rest of the world, I guess. So that's the end of the scary ending. Next, we have The Trespasser. I guess this is chapter 3 now. This is called Dusk. We see the two twin brother security guards leading Dr. Ward Kavanaugh to the jail cells in the basement. And Harris and Rebecca Cope are arguing. Harris is completely deluded. He knows that he's like, his skin is like basically rotting. He's got horrible skin cancer, very late stage. But he's still just like, oh, I don't want this doctor to help me. I don't want him meddling. And she says, you know, like, you're a monster. he won't accept our child just because he's, he's a congenital idiot or whatever. He's got all these problems. He throws her down the stairs. This is some really bravura artwork here. And yes, I know, it's probably better in black and white. The colors do kind of muddled it, but they also look kind of cool. Some of this stuff almost looks like Corbin's coloring when he was younger in the undergrounds, like using weird techniques. Because this is very unique coloring. I've never seen anything quite like it because not many people have ever done this. Attempt to paint over, beautiful gray toned artwork. So they throw the doctor into the dungeon. And of course, Halsey's already there. Sorry, Kelsey's already there. The old ranting guy. So he tells him his story. Apparently he worked for a huge corporation in the area, and they dumped all of this radioactive waste around this whole county. Now, Harris and Rebecca Cope built their mansion over all of this giant radioactive dump. So she's got leukemia, he's got this horrible skin cancer, and that's why their child was born that way. And the weird thing is so he was responsible for this. He was one of the board of directors who said, yeah, we'll save some money. Let's just illegally dump this radioactive crap. The walls of the mansion are actually like dissolving from this. There's so much radioactivity in the ground. So he basically came back to this place. I guess he was feeling guilty. And he basically was like, I have to destroy this place. People can't live here. It's just going to kill them. So it's just I got to say, this is like, for Don McGregor, this is like all of the worst characteristics he has in one story. Where he has, it's kind of interesting, he's talking about pollution. He's trying to, be relevant and putting that into this action story. But it's just so muddy. Like, this whole thing about Kelsey, the way the family treats him as this threat that has to be extinguished. It's like, I could understand if they were just like, no, kill this guy. He's responsible for you guys having all this cancers. He was part of the corporation. But they are like, oh no, he's going to bring us down. All he wants to do is, he's repented and he wants to help them. It's very muddied. It's very, I don't know, it's just some really, just kind of cheesy writing too. This is definitely not my favorite Don McGregor story. It's kind of interesting though. It's not like I was bored. I definitely wanted to see what was going to happen. There's some interesting little plot twists and stuff. But a lot of the dialogue sometimes is like, people don't really talk like that. That's just like very theatrical and stilted, So now, Rebecca Cope shows up, opens the door to the dungeon and frees them. She's like, my husband's insane. I realize now I'm going to help you guys escape. This is such a Don McGregor thing. Rebecca says, I have to go back. It's the only place I can go back to. I always felt that Tennessee Williams was the only one who ever understood me. I've always depended on the kindness of strangers. Blanche Dubois said that. It's just like, what? When you're like running for your life and you're dying of leukemia and you've just helped these guys escape, it's very odd dialogue. And by odd, I mean bad. But then one of the Averdeen brothers shows up. And he's like, I'm going to have to tell your husband about this, Mrs. Cope. And you guys are in a world of hurt. Kelsey tries to reason with him. He says, your job is to protect the Copes. Well, if you really want to protect them, you have to let this doctor take care of them. And heed my words. But of course, he's kind of a lunkhead. He's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Kelsey actually, even though he's an old man, tries to jump this security guard guy. He beats the shit out of him pretty easily. I don't know if this is Rurik or Rush. He's one of the Aberdeen brothers. And then our hero here, Ward Kavanaugh, attacks him. And he flips Ward Kavanaugh and picks up his gun and is firing at him. He misses. They're on this little kind of like log bridge. He hits one of the support beams and they all go into the water. The alligators rush in. And meanwhile, the doctor and one of the Aberdeen brothers are having this brawl. But then the alligators get the Aberdeen brother and gobble him up. Here's some more of that just amazing Gulacy art. Look at these alligators, the faces of them. And I gotta say, this Steve Olive coloring looks amazing there. I like this alligator. He's got his leg ripped off, his mouth. So the doctor and Rebecca, they look over and they see that the house is on fire. And she's like, my son's in there. We've got to go back. So now we have the last chapter of The Trespasser, Ruins. They make it to the mansion and it is indeed on fire. And we see Kelsey. It looks like he started it. He's kind of insane. He basically is just like, well, I just got to burn this whole place down. It's just poisoned. And I guess he figures the whole family's going to die anyway. But man, yeah, look at this great art. And look at these great fire effects from Olaf with his coloring. Really cool looking. So the surviving Aberdeen brother comes out. And he just blows Kelsey away with a shotgun. So he sees Rebecca and the doctor. And he says, all right, playtime's over. This is for keeps. When he rounds the house, we see the doctor with a pitchfork. And he rams it right into his chest. The Aberdeen guy. He falls down dead. So now they both run into the house to save the baby. And they find Harris, or I should say Harris finds them. He's pretty fucking nuts at this point. He's got a gun. And he shoots Rebecca, his wife. The doctor gives him a karate kick. That's a pretty nice panel. And Harris, Cope falls into the fire. Dead. To be burned up. He grabs Rebecca's body. And he takes her out of the house. He wonders, why is he even bothering? She's going to die pretty soon anyway. He risks his life for this baby and her. But they're doomed. And the one good thing to come from all this is now it has changed Dr. Ward Kavanaugh. He says, I'm going to go back with the borrowed car from Intercoastal Medicine. And basically I'm going to tell them to fuck off. And from now on, I'm going to make my own decisions. I'm going to back them up with action. So it's kind of implying that the trespasser would continue. Maybe it did. And he would fight these evil corporations in the future. The weird thing is about the story is, if you've been following the whole story, I don't really understand why it takes place in 1998. All of this could have happened in 1978. I think the story's from 79 or 80. Corporations for decades before that were dumping radioactive waste where they shouldn't have been. There's nothing necessarily science fiction about this story. They could have just been a rich family, not a rich family, this weird post-class war America. So I don't really get it. But maybe the next stories that Don McGregor was planning would have taken advantage of this futuristic setting better. Almost like Saber, which is a graphic novel he did, Paul Gulacy. So there you go, guys. Nightmares number 1 and 2. Pretty good stuff. Definitely, it was quarter bin fare forever. I guess it's now dollar bin fare. Though I doubt it's still around in dollar bins. Either they've been, ruined at this point, or people have held on to them. I definitely have since 1985. I'm not getting rid of these. Even if I had the original Warren issues, I'd still keep these. I kind of like the color work in here. But like I said, I'm sure it's better and more pure in its original black and white, because Paul Gulacy does great black and white, as we've seen in our videos looking at Epic Illustrated. So I guess that's it for tonight's video. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed looking at this. I hope you looked at it on a big screen, because this work is really nice, the artwork. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.